Welcome back to the AdviserVoice Zurich FinTech Lab series. Let's go over to the panel now to talk more about the software, the Aged Care Advice Generator.
So I've gone into the help section and there's a quick calculator to do some quick numbers. So there's an area where you can input the whole details of the client in order to create
so you don't have to go through the whole process.
Yeah, so I guess this would be initial conversations with a client before you're going into the strategy paper stage.
Or even in the meeting. First meeting.
Throw a few numbers in.
I'll be interested to know when we come back to question time too, whether there's a way to input some of the data, because a lot of the questions they're asking, that information exists somewhere else, so you can pick that up, feed it in. Absolutely, rather than us having to re-enter it, because of course, you know, you've always got the issue of user error, I guess, if you're doing that sort of thing. But it looks it was quite intuitive. It's certainly easy to follow. If you were doing a new client from scratch, it wouldn't be difficult to enter that information.
And they've got quite a few good training webinars here too if you get sort of stuck. So they've put quite a lot of effort into that help section as well.
There's a lot of detail there. It's probably not the easiest to navigate, but it's probably something that could easily be improved upon.
Yeah, I guess I've gone through and I've gone to the document side of things, and it's not short of detail. So it's definitely covering all bases from what I can see in terms of up to like 5 different options around what you could be, what a client what paths they could take.
Sure.
I really like the fact that, you know, with the 5 options, you really are making sure from a compliance point of view and protecting yourself for the future that the children, the family can see that all options were considered, which I think is
And you've got them all on paper.
It's great the way it does that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. So there's plenty of charts and graphs within the document as well, and we were having a look at this decisions area. So there's plenty of signs there to say these are all the parts that you need to consider and talk with your family about.
Very transparent, very user friendly too, and you know the fact finding area as well. So.
And I guess with the way it's structured, because it is a document that just pops out, if there is things that need to be tweaked, it doesn't seem like it would be too hard to go back and generate the document again.
Yeah.
So,
I imagine too, whilst it seems to give you some standard options, you could probably customise that a little bit with your compliance team too to make sure it's, I would imagine we can ask that question, but it would certainly be able to be covered off from your own compliance point of view to cover the options that you would want to be looking at.
I dare say that there'd be like a template at the back end, wouldn't there? You have your branding and everything on it with all that.
But when we talked about the cost of it, it's making that quite reasonable.
Yes.
Making the advice quite affordable, because what's happening currently, I think, is that advice has been so expensive for clients that
it's been a really manual process.
Because it has been very manual, and the risk of getting it wrong.
Well, I'd be really interested to see what the difference is between like the existing planning software, Xplan, etc., and how this compares to what they output and what the pros are.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's ask us some questions.
Look forward.
Yep.
Well, thanks, panel, and we'll bring back Asiat now to answer those questions that you've no doubt got. Thank you. Asiat, the panel's now had a chance to look at the software in much more detail. So let's hand over to the panel, and particularly to Therese first up, to ask the questions about what they found or things they need to know.
Yeah, it's a great piece of software, and there's a lot of information in there. I was particularly looking at your help section, where there's lots of training tools and documents and things you can download to use with the client. So it must have taken a while to gather all that information. So how has it all come about?
So it is a purpose-built software, as I mentioned, and so we do a lot of para-planning for aged care. So we had to build a software package that will allow us to do our own para-planning. And then out of that, we then developed the software that you're seeing now, which is available now for advisors and accountants to use as well. So it's all been built by ourselves. The interface and all the background calculators are all done and controlled by ourselves.
Probably a great revenue opportunity there, because typically clients 65 plus attract a lower revenue multiple from a practice valuation perspective, so this sort of enhances the value of those clients as well.
It does. If you look at the from the advisor's perspective, the opportunities are multiple. So first off, of course, is retaining the client, existing client. The other one is, because it's more a family decision, you tend to kind of get all the family together, and the advisor then builds a relationship with a broader family, which therefore means that they can then start to get those clients on as individual clients, the siblings, almost like a family office in a way. There's also then, once the estate falls in, there's the estate planning opportunity and helping them deal with their inheritance. And then the other aspect too is actually working with their professional referrers, because often you might be dealing with their accountant or their lawyer, who themselves would be one of the first port of call that their clients talk to about aged care. So there's an opportunity to then build that referral base with the professional referrers. And of course, then you've also got the aged care service providers, whether they be facilities, whether they be others who are working within hospitals who have to deal with aged care, then they're a great referral base as well.
I'm curious about how the program compares with existing options out there for advisors and what it does differently and the value add compared to...
It is very different. So as I keep on mentioning, it is a purpose-built software. So it does a lot of the complex areas that a lot of the other software may not do. So it does things like couples. It does things like all the different range of Centrelink or DVA services. And it also does things such as when it comes to selling your home, looking at how long it will take to get the proceeds from the sale of the home in the cash account, rather than assuming that if you're going to sell the home, then the money's in the account the next day, which of course is not correct. Because when it comes to aged care, one of the key things that the clients are looking for is managing the cash flow situation for the person going into care. And if you make those wrong assumptions, you might find that within a very short period of time, they've actually eaten up all of their cash within their cash account, and they're in a stressful situation. So our calculator is very different. So it also allows you to model up to the 5 different strategy options, and it also includes template wording attached to it, which therefore means that you can then generate the full customised advice strategy paper and give that to the client as the final piece of advice.
Okay.
Thank you, that's been really informative. Just one quick last question for you. As far as integrating a lot of the information for an existing client we already have, maybe an Xplan or somewhere else, is there a way to integrate that rather than having to re-enter that information for a client?
There is additional information that you need under the aged care side, so we actually provide you with a fact find that mirrors the information that's in the aged care advice generator, but it doesn't actually take in feeds from other systems. But what we do to make it easy is that a lot of the information you can see on the screen is very easy to input. There's a lot of drop-down menus just to make it easy to be able to pick up the information. And also, if bits of information aren't relevant for the client, that actually hides all those screens so that it only targets the information inputted that is relevant for that client. So ideally, it shouldn't actually take all that long to input the client information.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's been great.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, panel, and thanks very much, Asiat. It's been great to hear about the Aged Care Advice Generator software from Aged Care Steps, and we look forward to you joining us on the next edition of the AdviserVoice Zurich FinTech Lab series. Thank you.